Welcome to the Talking Downey podcast with Mario and Eric. My name is Eric Pierce, editor of the Downey Patriot, and I think you all know my co-host, Mario Guerra, former two-time mayor of the great city of Downey. How are you, Mario?
I'm doing good, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you. We have a lot to talk about. It's funny because I remember before we started this podcast, the conversation was, well, what are we going to be talking about in Downey? There's a lot to talk about in Downey, week after week. And, even with the Patriot, we never run out of things to write about to cover. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah. And this one's a crazy week. You and I were talking about what topics to talk about, and we're all over the place here this morning. So what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think the big news this week is there was a city council meeting Tuesday, and the city council appointed somebody to District 1. It's on an interim basis, but they appointed Timothy Horn to District 1. Mr. Horn is going to be replacing Blanca Pacheco, who resigned in December. She was elected to the state assembly. So we have a new council member, Timothy Horn. Do you know him?
My question to you is, who the heck is Timothy Horn?
No.
I've only lived here 50 years in the city of Downey, and I've never met him, never heard him, never seen him, couldn't tell you.
Timothy Horn.
They're Timothy Horn. So,
I'm laughing because it's almost kind of ridiculous, Somebody that nobody knows, he kind of came out of nowhere, and he's now on the city council.
Yeah. So there was a great line that Jay Leno, it kind of brought his show, the Tonight Show, to a different level when he had Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant was this actor that got caught on Hollywood Boulevard with a hooker on a side alley or something. Mm-hmm. And his first thing was on Jay Leno, and Jay Leno looked at him like, what the hell were you thinking, right? So my question is, what were they thinking on the Downey City Council? And I don't get it.
I don't know. So there were four candidates.
Right.
There was Horacio Ortiz Jr., Hector Lujan, who am I missing? Elvira Meraz, and also Timothy Horn. Going in, I don't think either of us expected Timothy Horn to be any kind of viable candidate. I didn't think so.
No, it's like because he'd never been involved in the city in any shape.
Do you know? I'm asking you because you're very involved in the city. Do you know what he does for a living?
No.
I've
never met him before.
Do you know where he went to school?
I had 10 people. No.
What are his goals?
Call me. I don't know. Oh, I do know his goals because I watched the thing. He wants to have better lighting for the schools, for the school down there, which would be great if you were running for the school district, not the city council.
Right.
And then he wants a parking placard so you can't park between 7 and 9 in the morning and so forth over there and on the school parking lot. I saw that. And when they asked him, well, what would you want for the city or what else do you think our city needs? And he kept coming back to that. It was just kind of in a weird way that was just his one issue, which not necessarily bad, but the way he did it, I think Alex Dominguez wrote a great editorial yesterday that I read. He wasn't the first choice. He wasn't the second choice. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the third choice. And to be honest with you, the fourth choice should have been none of the above. Should have been leave it vacant, which had almost happened, which I think was probably the logical thing. Besides, I think Hector Lujan was more qualified especially for an interim like that. But this came out of left field because under the term of, compromise, right? Mm-hmm. They compromised because they were 2-2 on everything. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's good compromise.
No.
So this guy is going to have 1/4 vote, maybe 1/3 vote, 1/4 vote on voting on the next city manager in the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a full say vote along with the other council members on voting one of the most important things you could do. And he doesn't seem to have the working knowledge of what the city does, let alone the council.
We don't know. He's a total unknown. We don't know anything about him. We don't know politically, which way he's inclined to lean. We don't know what his, overarching goals are for the city. We just don't know. It's such a big unknown for the city. Yeah. I'm really surprised that they didn't leave the seat open.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense to
Right.
me.
Well, the argument was, oh, we need to run the city business in case, if Catherine Alvarez does get recalled, then there would only be 3 of them left, and if one of them had to, couldn't vote on it. Councilman Trujillo can't vote on downtown because he owns property in the downtown. So, you'd only have 2 left and stuff, which is a valid argument, but that's not a reason to appoint somebody that's not probably qualified to do
Right.
it just because of that reason. So I'm sorry, I'd rather leave it vacant. The city will run. You're going to pay
Right.
the bills. You're going to write the register. You're going to do all these things. I don't know. This is too big of a risk. It doesn't make sense.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed because I feel like the city makes a little bit of progress and then it takes, a couple steps backwards. And I just don't get it. I don't understand.
I felt we were making progress.
Yeah.
And I was glad of, Councilman Sosa, this is only his 3rd council meeting. I liked the direction and the dialogue he was having. He was trying to come
I did too.
to a compromise and everything else. And, he was even asking Catherine Alvarez, so what are your thoughts, in the dialogue? And she was being real defensive, like, I don't have to tell you. You can't make me tell you. And it's like,
it's because she doesn't have any original thoughts.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
But you know what? It was weird because if she's really fighting the recall, by the way, we'll get into it real briefly, but the recall's on Tuesday, okay? If she was really fighting that would have been a great show that she really is fighting for the residents. She keeps saying, I'm for the people, but you can't explain yourself. That would have been a good opportunity. Why were you voting those things? At one point, she then brought up her nomination towards the end of Elvira, and it got seconded, and that's when Councilman Trujillo said, you guys should think hard about this vote, because we've had things in District 3 talking about Catherine, sort of, things and scandals and stuff. And then she okay, I withdraw my nomination. So she was basically following whatever Trujillo would want. And they were 2-2 on every single thing.
Right.
And I'm glad, and Horacio Ortiz withdrew himself. So that was honorable and nice to be do. So then the logical choice is Hector Lujan. He'd been on the planning commission. He'd been president of AYSO. He's an educator, lived in the district for many, many years. It's not a carpetbagger, didn't move in a couple months ago. You're right. It felt like we were making progress, and progress there probably would have been appoint nobody.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Hector Lujan, like you said, he's been around for a while. And, the other candidates, Horacio and Elvira, this isn't a knock on them at all, but they in my opinion, kind of came out of nowhere. They showed up 6 months ago. They did all the right things. They're joining service organizations.
Check.
They're attending gangs at Downey.
Check.
And they're making donations.
Check.
All the nice things that they're doing.
Yeah.
But this all started 6 months ago, where Hector Lujan has been doing this for years.
Yeah.
He's run for city council. He lost a few years ago.
He lost to Blanca Pacheco.
He lost to Blanca Pacheco.
And that was a good race. I endorsed them both. I endorsed Blanca Pacheco and Hector Lujan.
At least we know who Hector Lujan is.
Yes.
He's not some unknown.
Yes.
And I think he's kind of earned a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Timothy Horn, we don't know anything about, and this isn't a slam on him personally. I don't know him.
Yeah.
I just, it's Timothy Horn. I've never met a Timothy that I really like, to be honest. It's, why not Tim? If it was a Tim, I might trust him more. But
does he go by
Timothy?
Timmy? Does he go by Timothy?
Well, that was on the paper. That was on the paperwork.
Have you guys, as the Patriot, give us some inside info here on there? Have you guys called him for a quote or a comment as he returned your call?
Alex Dominguez is working on that
Okay.
story because to be completely honest, so the way it works, we're obviously the Patriots a small staff, so going into meetings we kind of have to prepare ahead of time.
Right.
And I'll be honest, we did not see Timothy Horn being selected. We
Right.
did not see it. We thought maybe one of the other 3.
Right.
But Alex Dominguez is working on that, and we're recording this on Thursday afternoon. Tonight is when he gets sworn in, and so we'll learn more about him. but it's going to be after the fact. We'll get to know your council member.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I thought we'd come further than that, but now we just have to support him and hope to do the right thing, and
We hope he does the right
We hope
thing.
he does the right thing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of goofy on there. So,
Mauro, let me ask you. So the city council is going to be selecting a city manager.
Mm-hmm.
Is that process all done behind the scenes?
what it is, yes and no.
Because
Yes.
you've been involved in this
Yeah,
process.
no, I hired Gilbert Levis, and I helped the transition with Jerry Caden, and the council appointed Dave Gaffin and myself to be the liaison with Jerry Caden, and his folks, and then to work with the headhunters to get the Gilbert Levis. We luckily had him as the deputy city manager. So the answer is yes and no. What happens is you narrowed it down to 5, and then you narrowed it, and then the whole council interviews them all in closed session.
Okay.
And then you rate them, and you have the discussion. As long as it's agendized, it's public. It's okay for the council to talk among themselves. It's not a brown hat
Right.
because you agendize that. That's
But
what
the
you're
public isn't going to know the names. Are
No,
they?
no, they're not. They're not. And some of them is, like any other job interview, you want to protect, if I'm working at a particular city and I'm
Right.
interviewing, maybe I'm the deputy city manager and I want to be
Sure.
a city manager here. So, and I hope, you don't want to, ruin my
Sure.
job that I currently have. But the one thing that kind of makes, and I hope that they're looking at current city managers. Downey is too good to be a step up. It could be the perfect person, but until you're a city manager, you're not a city manager.
Right.
There's a difference between being assistant city manager and being city manager. There's a
Right.
big difference
Right.
when it all falls on your shoulder. So I don't want us to be a stepping stone. I hope that
Right.
we're not. We shouldn't be a
No,
training
we're
base.
not.
We
We're
should have
not.
somebody experienced.
But then again, you look at the current situation, the political climate in Downey. Is it still a desirable job? I think it is. But, it's, I don't know. Are we still going to get the best of the best? I don't know. I guess also it depends on how much the city is offering in terms of compensation,
It should be a fair. I mean, we're a decent sized city, and that should be a priority. So I'm not so worried about the compensation, what it is. Although you got some city managers. I mean, you got look at the guy in Montebello.
Right.
So Rene Boliville or something
Yeah.
like that. He had been at other ones, Southgate, other cities. So he gets a job offer from Santa Monica for like a huge amount increase. So Santa Monica, gets his blessing. He's going to take the job. Santa Monica makes a big announcement.
Yeah.
Right? Their council votes on it. They make a big announcement, the whole thing. And then when he does, then Montebello offered him more. And he's like, okay, thanks, Santa Monica. But it was done very public.
Yeah.
It is like something's wrong there.
Right.
You got to you got to know what you want for him to have stayed or not.
Right.
And negotiate and work it out before. So poor Santa Monica, it's kind of embarrassing for them that they announced their city manager.
Sure.
And then the guy turned him down after the fact, after he
Right.
said yes. So that was, I hope.
I've heard his name mentioned.
I've heard he's not one of the ones interviewing, because then it is, and it's going to be well over $300,000 for somebody that, anyways, that sure they want Santa Monica or Montebello or other cities that he's had. So, anyways, I'm talking too much about behind the stuff, and I'll get a call from Mr. Bolivia, but it is what it is.
It's interesting because Downey is Downey's going to be selecting a city manager. What do you think in the next few weeks, couple of months?
Yeah.
Or?
As soon as Mr. Horn figures out how to push the yes button.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm still on this thing. It's just not ideal. It's just not ideal. And so anyway, but okay, so let me give you good news. Okay, so last night I'm sitting on the corner. I had 15 phone calls to return. So I'm down there at the corner, right?
The mayor's corner.
The mayor's corner, thank you. But it's, maybe the city will name it that someday. But it is
but I can sit there. Other people can sit there.
Yeah, there's no toll fee. Okay, not only you're welcome to sit there. Anyway, so at the corner there, Downey and 2nd Street, that's where we hang out a lot. And it was getting darker, and there was an elderly couple taking a picture of the man, the statue there standing on his thing, on his hands, right? That public art. So I started talking to them, and I said, hey, don't forget the coins on the bottom, haha, and the whole thing. And they said, how come you know so much? They asked me about what we did in the corner. And I just mentioned, I go, well, I'm a former mayor here, and this is downtown Downey is my love. And I said, have you seen Doodalicious? You know, Don Lampkin saying. So we walked over there, and I helped explain what everything was and stuff like that. And they said, we lived here 50 years ago. We live in the valley now, and we just came back. And we can't believe how beautiful this downtown is.
Wow.
You know, this is gorgeous with the lights, feel safe, the public arts on stuff. And it made me feel really good.
Yeah.
So we complain sometimes, we that live here. You know, sometimes we don't see the beauty because it's right in front of us.
Right.
And you and I remember when the downtown was completely dead, and you and I are both involved here in the downtown and the re-energization, if you will. And it made me feel good. I took a picture of them walking away. Oh, here's a funny question. They said, could you tell us where the roller skating banana is? Because
the banana.
we've been told about this, so we want to walk over there. I go, sir, it's about 2 blocks over on the right-hand side in front of the market over there.
How funny.
So, yeah.
I love that banana.
So, yeah.
I know not everybody does. There's a lot of critics of it. I like the banana.
Yeah.
It's
I
on
like
roller
the banana.
skates.
I
It's
wish the
cool.
banana should have been more exposed over here.
Uh-huh.
I don't like the butterfly thing in front of Ola. That just
Okay.
seems like,
Yeah. The banana really gets your attention. It's kinda
yeah,
cool.
that would have been really good here. The upside down guy, you see all kinds of people. I'm looking out my window there, and you see all kinds of people trying to recreate it. I've tried it, but I would break everything.
I couldn't get back up after I fell down.
no
But
kidding.
that's a good story. It's a good reminder of how far we've come.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't, we get caught up in the weeds sometimes. But Downey's still making good progress.
Yeah,
It's still a good city.
I like some of the stuff of the city council that they now, get rid of the video for all these crazy gadflies that use the bad words and stuff. It seems like they're pushing it to to restore some order and some sense on there.
Yeah.
So I like that. I watched it late at night Tuesday night. I had a church event, and then I came back and I listened to the whole thing, and I'm like, good. I don't want to have to see them.
Yeah.
It's bad enough I had to hear them, and they were threatening him to kick him out if they kept going, as they should.
Absolutely.
As they should. So.
And I'm
anyway.
happy that we have Hector Sosa on the city council.
Yeah, I am too.
Because
I am
after,
too.
8 years of
Sean or
Sean,
not knowing.
Ashton. Yeah, it was kind of
and he
refreshing to have somebody there who is motivated to do work on behalf of the residents, which I really believe he's doing.
Is willing to call residents back, is willing to ask, pertinent questions and everything else on there. So it's, I do enjoy Hector. And,
the city council's gone to, we used to have really good city councils. We used to, and I think it was you I think you said this publicly. If not, we could, delete this part. But I remember you said this is one of the worst city councils the city's ever had. And are you okay with us saying that comment?
Yeah, I think the last one was, and this one, as long as you have certain people on there, it does. I mean, well,
because we used to have, the Meredith Perkins and the David Gaffins.
Yeah.
We have the Alex Sobbs. We had Rick Rodriguez. We had really good, solid people on the city council, and that kind of went away.
The fact that they voted 5 or 6 times and it was a 2-2 vote, and some of them weren't even, it was just on what they wanted politically, So, and you could tell that. I mean, Councilman Trujillo, Horacio Ortiz seems like a very nice young man. I'm serving with him on the planning commission. But, he recently went to D.C. with him. They're friends. And then Trujillo let it go that, when he runs in November, he's going to have, Congressman Garcia and Janice Hahn and Blanca Pacheco already supporting him, endorsing him. So he kind of let it out of the bag a little bit. It's okay, so you're pushing your vote in there. That's all you were doing. While Hector Sosa, Hector Lujan, could be, a neutral, at least an experienced voice. So, and then you had... you want to talk about Elvira? Your paper had a story about Elvira, the other candidate.
Sure. Well,
she's going to be running for council.
She's running for city council. She'll be running in November. So the November election is still just to finish Blanca's term, right? So it's only for a 1-year term.
It's only for 2 years.
For 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Well,
for 1 year.
For 1
1
year.
1 year. You're absolutely right.
And then they'll have to run again.
Right.
And so this is actually, and we'll get back to Elvira. So even if they run and they win in November, they'll have to run again next year.
Right.
But then they're going to be termed out, right? So all they can do is 5 years? Do you see what I'm saying?
I don't know about the replacing part. The city charter is very clear that our term limits are you can only turn in nomination papers for twice to the city clerk.
Right.
So I don't know about filling in a seat, but you may be correct.
Interesting.
You may be correct on there, but that's something that we should look at and bring back
Yeah,
another day.
because potentially they could only it would be 2 terms, but 5 years total.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm just it just
No,
occurred to me
that's
right
interesting.
now.
We should. That's a discussion
Yeah.
for another point. But
Alex Dominguez wrote the story that there was Elvira was the subject of a mutual restraining order. She was involved in an altercation outside Gallatin Elementary. She claims that she was attacked by somebody. It was a messy story, you know. To be honest, it's not something that we enjoy doing. But I think if we learned anything from 2020 is that we have to, the press, including the Patriot, has to be a little bit more aggressive, I think, in reporting and investigating, candidates' backgrounds. And I think it's important because I think when somebody's running for public office, you become a public figure, and residents have a right to know their backgrounds. They have a right to know about their candidates,
So, well, you took a lot of criticism. I know. I got a lot of texts on it and so forth this week. But you guys gave the candidate an opportunity to tell her side of the story.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah,
And the criticism had to do with some of the terminology and also the date of the incident, which happened in 2012.
Yeah.
But it's. I feel if you're running for public office, you're a public official.
Right.
It's going to come out. It deserves to come out.
Do you think? Okay, going back to 2020, do you think that the paper, because you were running at the time on there, do you think the paper was kind of like reverse nepotism? Like they didn't want to show nepotism and going after Catherine, you excluding you, and they basically, it was kind of a hands-on. They didn't want to make it seem like they were partial towards you,
Right.
so they went the other way too much, because maybe that would have come out
I
on
think
Catherine.
so. Oh, I
because you
think
took
so.
yourself out of reporting
I
on the
did.
election.
So 20, and I think that's a perfect example that it's a matter of trust. But in 2020, I was not participating in the political coverage of the Patriot. That was, it was other people.
Right.
And I think, the Patriot, I've been accused of weaponizing the Downey Patriot against Catherine Alvarez. If that was true, the Patriot would have been a lot more aggressive in 2020 and reporting their background. And being completely honest, I think it was a failure of the Downey Patriot in 2020, because I remember back when, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years ago, when Gabriel Orozco was running for city council.
Yes.
He had a bunch of DUI. He was running for District 4.
No, District 5.
District 5.
Wait. Not a bunch. I said it before. Not one, not two, not three, not four. He had 5. 5 DUIs.
5 DUIs.
5 DUIs.
I found that out.
Can you imagine if you hadn't reported that?
Oh, yeah. I know. And that was because I ran his background. We searched his criminal history, and we reported it. That didn't happen in 2020, and I think that was a failure of the Patriot.
I can't believe. I tell you, 2 things that stand out. When I saw him and I asked him, a few of us asked him, what were you thinking running with 5 DUIs? He goes, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I paid the tickets and I'm not allowed to drive anymore. But it's like, boom, number one, he thought it was right. And number 2, he made a statement that I'll never forget, because the school district, rightfully so, was so upset that somebody running for council would mislead the public. Says, well, there's only 60% of the kids in Downey Unified graduating.
Yeah.
And everybody like, what are you talking about? Where do you get? Oh, I know. I have inside people. But the inside people, Dr. Brosmer, Dr. Garcia, the people that know in the elected officials, it's like 90 some odd, high 90s%.
It's like 96%.
Yeah, graduate. So again, that's when we as a community gather and we take pride on that. We can't have some idiot saying something that's just not true.
Right.
So, but you guys took a lot of heat this week, and
people, it's public. It's public information, and people can vote for whoever. People can make a decision on who they want to vote for, whether that information is relevant, how important it is to them personally. That's a personal decision. But all I'm saying is people have that right. That
Sure,
right to know.
sure. There's a lot of things you should know both sides on there. I mean, I know that that story came out because I was sent these anonymous things, and you want to, it's he said she said thing. You want to talk to her, so I talked to her, and you saw some of the things that they said on there. So she had an opportunity, but it's true. So people should know, and they make their choices.
And it's never anything personal. Like, I'll say this: I've gotten to know Elvira a little bit on a personal level. Super nice lady.
Yeah.
She looks like a great mom. She just joined Kiwanis. I'll say the same thing about Horacio.
Yeah.
Super nice young man. He looks very ambitious.
Yeah.
I like both of them.
Oh yeah.
Personally.
No,
it's not personal, but people have the right to know.
I've met Horacio several times. I'm now working with him on the planning commission. I voted for him the other day on the planning commission. Very nice guy. I wish he hadn't moved to District 1 within a month on there to run for it. If he ran in District 3, I might even support him, because, or at least endorse him.
But when you when you move into a district, just to run for that office, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Me too. Me too, and that's one of the things I resent. That people do that, and nothing about that he won't do a good job or anything. But don't go there chasing it and stuff like that. I remember
people accused me in 2020 of moving into the district just to run, which is kind of ridiculous because as if I'm going to buy a home just so I could run for office in that particular district. That's so crazy.
Okay, but you got to go further than that.
Yeah.
There's some idiots like that guy at whatever newspaper in Cerritos on there that just likes to make up his own stories. That I gave you $50,000. I lowered the price, something like $50,000. They wrote in the story, so you could do that. So I was willing to take $50,000 from my family for my grandkids to sell you this $600,000 condo that he says was worth $700,000 or $600,000. It's like, are you kidding me?
I wish.
Well, no kidding on there. But again, I'm sorry. I like you, Eric. I'll loan you $100 here and there, whatever you want, But I'm not going to give you $50,000.
No.
And I'm sorry for any candidate to run. I'm not taking that away from my family.
No.
So just the idiocy of what he said. But he wrote it, and there was a gadfly. There's one of these city gadflies that came to the planning commission the other day and brought that up.
Yeah,
it's like, okay.
I still hear about it.
Yeah, I know.
The best thing I've ever heard.
So, dude, you owe me $49,900. I was only willing to give you 10.
I'll give you an IOU.
Yeah, no kidding. So, okay, so the big story, and in here we didn't want to talk politics.
Yeah,
that's all we've talked about. Of course, the recall, and we can condense it down, but
we need to talk about the recall.
Yeah, we need to.
Recall election Tuesday. Finally, finally, it's been a long time coming. But voters in District 3 are going to finally decide whether Catherine Alvarez should remain in office or not. The reason she's being recalled is because she didn't disclose her criminal past, and people behind the recall effort think that voters had a right to know, and this is like a fresh election and let people decide whether she should be recalled or not. Right. It's Tuesday, but the voting is, or if you want to do early voting, you can vote right now.
There's a couple thousand people have already voted. There's a lot of canvassing doing on the on the recall. So there's this motivated group of residents and volunteers. And she says it's a right-wing conspiracy to get her out, which is not, because all the people running it are from all different parties on there, so it's not one party or anything like that. But the one thing that's kind of interesting is you would have thought that she would be, be out there or talking to people why they should keep her, because it was about what she did before she got elected.
Right.
But then it's like, well, what have you done since then? So make your case, and she can't. There's nothing. Well, especially the other day. I mean, come on, at least have a pertinent point on why you wanted to select any of these people. She's missed more council meetings in the last 3 months. So show your face. Give your opinions, fight for your job if you really think that you can help the people.
Absolutely.
And she hasn't done that.
She hasn't done it. I want to read, I pulled up a letter. Rick Rodriguez, former mayor, wrote a letter about the recall. It just went out. I want to read a small portion of it. This is what he had to say. Let me find it really quick. It's kind of a lengthy letter, but it's basically he's talking about why he's going to be voting yes. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah, go
Sure.
ahead.
You want me to sing?
Yeah.
On there, I can sing on there and stuff. So, well, we're going to talk. We're going to do a couple restaurant reviews. Actually, we're going to do one restaurant review.
Okay,
and we'll
so-
talk about. There we
okay,
go. Sorry,
fine. Okay.
restaurant review over.
Okay. So Rick talked about her criminal history, and then he says, had Miss Alvarez revealed this information and she still was elected, then hey, I could live with that, as disappointing as it would be. But I don't believe she would have been elected had voters known the truth about Miss Alvarez. Many others agree, which is the reason she's being recalled.
Right.
I think that was very well said.
Yeah.
And it hits the nail on the head. It's not about anything else. It's about whether voters had all the information when they voted in 2020.
Right.
That's all.
And for him too, Catherine Alvarez came to his house with a bullhorn at 11 o'clock at night before she got on the council. So because she wanted, free rent. So it's
There's going to be, we'll talk more after once we get the results of the election, because there's going to be repercussions, whether she's recalled or she isn't. There's going to be repercussions in Downey.
Right,
so we'll
right.
talk about that.
And hopefully, less than 1 week from today, it's immediate. There's nobody filling the seat because there'll be another election for that, but it's immediate. She's immediately off that day. So
Is
the
she
very
really?
next, the
Oh,
very next day,
interesting.
she's no longer a council person.
Okay.
So that'll be very interesting to tell. And you know what? I, for one, again, it's been going on for a year because they were so close to getting it and everything else. I can't tell you how much work has gone into that from the community. These are community people. We had them on the show the last time, and two of the leaders of that. But anyways, it's coming to an end. But this weekend and Monday and Tuesday, there'll be a lot of people canvassing and working hard toward voting yes to recall.
Do you ever worry? Do you think there'll be any kind of voter fatigue in Downey? Because it seems like it's one election after another.
It has been, but I'll tell you, because of Catherine Alvarez's election, I think people have woken up and says, hey, we got to start taking this more seriously.
Yeah.
The former mayors did that. We got together and we said, we can't take our eye off the ball. We need to, and all of us are different persuasions, different ideology, different on there, but we have one really strong common passion is that we love in our former mayors of the great city of Downey.
Yeah.
So having said that, we want only what's best for the city. So that's why we're looking at candidates that are interested. If you want our expertise, you want our vetting, you want our strategy, you want our money even, and our endorsement, you got to come to us and we'll ask you some tough questions.
Yeah.
But I think to answer your question directly, yes and no, but I think people at least have woken up and taken it seriously. To have a recall, to put it on the ballot, to have it in, we're hoping it's successful. We think it will be. In the history, our city was, founded in 1873 and incorporated in 1956. That's a big, big deal.
Yeah.
We've only had a couple sleazy council people, that didn't serve out. You had, Luis Marquez that walked away from the job his last year in office. You had, Sean resigned on there for some mysterious something. So you haven't had too many things happen with the council, whether we agreed with their votes or not.
Right.
It's a different story, right?
It's historic for sure.
Yeah,
So we'll
so-
follow up on that.
Yeah,
We'll
absolutely.
talk about that.
Absolutely.
Mario, other big news. It was reported last week that Frantone's is likely going to be closing and be replaced with a Chick-fil-A. I have some strong feelings about this. I'm not a fan of it. It's super, and Frantone's, they're making a personal business decision. So it's nobody's being forced out. Let's be clear about that. But it's a bummer. It's a bummer for sure.
Yeah, there are so many occasions. Frantone's been part of our mainstay of our community. We go there for, the last three police chiefs retirement. We fill that place up with former chiefs and police department personnel and so many different events. We've always enjoyed having lunch there, going there, the pizzas and everything else.
They have a nice banquet room.
They have a
there.
nice banquet room, nice people, stable food. You know what you're getting. So it is that. It's another piece of historic Downey that's going away. Having said that, though, I've heard the numbers that this outside people came in and offered them a ton of money.
Yeah.
And for
They
their
couldn't say
families,
no.
they couldn't say no. So I feel bad for them, and yet they're going to be happy in their retirement. So
Yeah.
good for them. The other part, from our standpoint, okay, a Chick-fil-A, I get it. We have two in Downey. We now have one down in Imperial, and we have the one here on Firestone Boulevard. I'm going to say to everybody what I always said about the 7th McDonald's, okay? Downey residents, the 7th McDonald's came into the city of Downey because of us residents. McDonald's is not stupid. McDonald's Corporation and the franchise owner and so forth. If we, the residents of Downey, wouldn't be supporting the 6th McDonald's to a great extent, they wouldn't have built the 7th McDonald's, right? So the city of Downey, when something is zoned for a particular, fast food, right? The 7th McDonald's is on the corner of Breeze and Firestone when that came in, right? So that's zoned for fast food. So the city of Downey can't tell that property owner, says, we want a Jack in the Box, we want an Arby's, we want blah, blah. We can't. We can suggest it, but they're like, no, we're putting a McDonald's. So by law, the zoning is all we can do, and once it's zoned for something. So the city of Downey, unlike what people think, we don't pick and choose winners. We incentivize certain ones. We wanted Benihana to the Promenade, so we incentivize them that taxes 10 years from now are going to be a little bit less for you kind of stuff. But we can't pay somebody, and we can't dictate what it is.
Yeah, it's still a shame though, because it's a place like Frantone, that's part of Downey's identity.
Yeah,
is what makes Downey special as a community. And more I think we're seeing Downey become identical to every other city. You can drive from one community to another, and it all looks the same. And so this is going to be Downey's 3rd Chick-fil-A. It's too bad. I'm really disappointed.
You know who comes in, by the way? Chick-fil-A, just like the one on Firestone there. Chick-fil-A in the Habit. They're kind of like, whenever you see a Chick-fil-A somewhere, usually you see a Habit. Because I think they have the same real estate folks on there. So I think it also will have a Habit down there. So, which will make Pico Rivera happy, because obviously that's at the end of Downey.
It's right on the
So
border.
they're going to, from a business standpoint, if I'm Chick-fil-A, that's a great spot. Because you're going to gather from two cities.
It is, but also, the traffic there already is terrible. And also, there's a little elementary school there. I don't know which school it is. I'm not like, I think it's going to be a mess. And I don't know. I'm kind of bummed out about it. I'm going to miss Frantone's. It was an old reliable.
We got to go there for lunch before they close down. I think there's 3 or 4 months or something.
We should. They didn't give a timetable. But
the good thing, the one in Cerritos is still going to be open, so it's not the same. It's not the same. I know, but I mean, I'm talking from a family standpoint, the name and the whole thing. And
I know. I mean, we still have Pino's Pizza, I guess.
So
Save Pino's Pizza. Speaking of food. Okay, so you and I, it was very nice. The owners of the new restaurant on Downey, on Firestone Boulevard. I was looking at the wrong camera. Which camera am I looking at? That camera or that camera? So I was looking straight ahead instead, but there's no. So the owners of this new restaurant called Diosa. And Diosa is a play, Dios means, God, and Diosa, so goddess. And you and I, they were nice. They said they listened to our podcast. So thank you, Diosa. We appreciate you guys listening. So they invited us for a friends and family taster a couple of days ago before it opened up to the public. So we weren't expecting what we saw. It's absolutely gorgeous. They spent millions and millions and millions and millions on renovating it and building it from scratch. It's where the old hometown buffet used to be, but there's nothing reminiscent of that. It's a 10,000 square foot restaurant, which is huge by restaurant standard. But it was nice. The owners told us that, look, they heard about the Ojos Locos situation. They were originally going to be a margarita testing thing, and then they didn't want to be too close to, Tiempo Cantina and so forth. That's over on Paramount. So they literally went to Cabo San Lucas and Acapulco, and they scouted high-end resort-type facilities and looks and feels and the quality of food and stuff. And what they came up with was this. And you walk in, you're like, this is the nicest restaurant in Downey. So we now have an amazing restaurant there, and you and I tasted the food. And what do you think, your impression of everything? So first of all, I was way underdressed walking in there. It blew me away. It blew me away. You're you're 100% right. Without question, it's the nicest restaurant in Downey. It's a place where you're gonna go for a date. It's a high end type of place. The food was spectacular. The drinks look good. I didn't have any because in the middle of the day.
I didn't either because I had to go do a funeral afterwards, and I didn't want to be drunk at a funeral, but I wanted to try one.
They had a bar, and what I liked, they also had drink carts. So when they're eating, they walked around with drink carts, and you could just get a drink right off the cart. Great staff. A lot of staff, a lot of employees.
I think it was 150 employees they hired. I mean, they brought to the community there, and it's going to be all high end.
The owner also said that they were scouting restaurants in Las Vegas, the higher end restaurants, and they kind of wanted to incorporate that into this location. Very nice valet parking. Yeah. It was all top notch, and it's exciting for Downey.
Yeah, I went on their website, and they actually have rules for it. Like, for example, there's no kids under 12 after 7 p.m. On Friday and Saturday, because they want a high end, and they want, and that's okay as long as they're telling you up front, right?
Right.
And you can't, if you're having a birthday dinner, you can't bring a big balloon because for the other guest. They said it very nicely, but it was kind of like for the rest of the guest enjoyment.
Because you know what? My concern is sometimes you get nice restaurants, but they become a little trashy.
Yeah.
I don't get that impression with Diosa.
No.
I feel like they have really high standards, and they're going to try to maintain it.
So you and I laughed about this. So when the Ojos Local situation, the city council passed a dress code, if you will, for our restaurants and waitresses and so forth. And one of them was, this is just kind of, you laugh, because one of them was that the cleavage had to be less than 3 inches or something showing. So we all laugh because, like, who's going to measure it? Let me go up to that. Oh, sorry, you're in violation of the code, which is, I don't know, just kind of overkill. It was dumb. It was overkill, right? And we don't want sexy, we don't want them to be improperly dressed, but anyways. So the tequila ladies that came to our table in the cart and the beautiful tequilas in the whole bed. I don't know if they met the 3-inch.
Probably not. Probably not.
But we talked about it afterwards. It's like, okay, who's going to measure? They were very attractive, and they didn't look sleazy to us, but they definitely did not fit the 3-inch code thing. No. And I've been married 38 years, and I'm a grandpa of 4 and got 5 kids. I'm not trying to be, a perv, but they were nicely dressed.
It's interesting because we're talking about Ojos Locos, and how do you? I'm playing devil's advocate, but like, how do you who determines what's quote unquote sleazy or not? I don't know. There's what's the definition? I don't know. Just such a gray area there.
Well, I think the biggest telltale on everything is that do people go there? Okay, and so like the 7th McDonald's. Okay, if we bring in the business, then that's how you reward a business by your dollars by going there. So if families aren't going to go there, they're to Ojos Locals or whatever, they won't, and that they shouldn't.
But I don't think families probably aren't the target demographic.
No, and they're not the target for this place either. This is too high end. I'd be afraid of taking my grandkids there because it's almost too nice. By the way, so the food. Okay, all right. So somebody laughed at me the other day and said, "Hey, your show's funny. You guys are talking about hardcore politics or something, and then you switch to a restaurant review." So. They gave us a sampler taster kind of thing. There was, 6 of us, and they brought 2 different things for all of us. So they had an ahi tower, was amazing. They had a guacamole, a smoked guacamole that they bring with the lid on it with the smoke, and then they say it tastes different, and they bring hand-cut chips, and it tasted different. It had its own unique flavor. I love that. The lobster enchiladas were amazing. Okay, I mean, in a gooey white sauce. The langostino appetizer was beautiful. What else did we have? The carnitas on the skillet thing. That was just.
Those were nachos, I think.
On there.
Were those nachos?
No, the carnita one. Remember the shredded beef carnitas on the plate on the hot sizzling. But that was great. Yeah. The chicken poble and the chicken mole, poblano and mole. That was really good. I'm a mole guy. I love mole. Yeah. So we're giving a little description of some of these things. Then the desserts, they have a guava cheesecake that it was okay. It wasn't my favorite.
Really, it was my favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my favorite.
I like the creme brulee because
yeah,
with the fruits on the top, because when you get to the bottom, the whole layer is like a chocolate fudge,
Yes.
or a chocolate brownie thing.
Which
on
I
the
didn't know
bottom.
about the chocolate at first.
I did.
Yeah.
I found it. I was
Yeah.
telling the manager there when he came by.
Yeah.
So if you get the creme brulee, there's a little fun surprise at the bottom.
I thought it was great. My only criticism is, maybe just me. I dropped 2 forks. I think because the plates are kind of curved a little bit.
Yeah.
So when I placed the forks on the plate, they kind of slid off. And I
Right.
did it twice. And I saw another person do it too. That was my only criticism. Maybe they can fix it because, forks were falling all over the place.
Yeah.
But the food was just spectacular.
It was. It was. I love the presentation. I love the quality. I'm excited for us. We deserve a really good restaurant. So we're giving it a great review because it's the truth. We don't get anything from it. We kind of like that the guy had watched our show.
Yeah.
So which kind of shows they did their homework a little bit. They want to know a little bit more about Downey.
Yeah.
Why not listen or, talking Downey, you know?
So, we can't get at Trader Joe's, but we got Diosa. you
Yeah.
know? I'm okay
That's
with
right.
that.
That's
I'm
right.
okay
No
with
other
that.
city around here has Diosa.
No.
Yeah.
No, Norwalk isn't getting
Yeah.
Diosa.
Hey, your reporter, Alex Dominguez, called me on the Trader Joe's thing, and we laughed about it because Councilman Trujillo had brought it up that we should have a big rally.
Yeah.
And Alex called me up. He says, can you give me a quote on what are your thoughts? Is that worth it? I'm like, of course it's worth it. I'm there. They told us 3 times when we went there and met with them that we were not their demographics and we weren't going to be in there 5
Right.
years, but we should always keep going after them.
Right.
So I still get in trouble for that.
I told we on the Patriot has a podcast, the Live Wire, and I talked to Alex Dominguez about Trader Joe's, and what I told him was I don't even know how much Downey really wants a Trader Joe's. I think it's more of an entitlement thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even that people even want to shop there. I think people feel entitled because we're Downey and we deserve a Trader Joe's because we're such a nice city, and how dare them for not wanting to be here.
Yeah.
That's my perspective. I don't know. Even if they do one day open up in Downey, I
Right.
don't know if they're going to be successful.
Right,
I don't
right.
know.
Well,
That's my feeling.
So everybody knows I'm a deacon in the Catholic Church for 20 years. So Ann and I just got transferred to be the new deacon at St. Philip the Apostle in Pasadena, right? So, like tonight we have baptism class and we'll do baptism Saturday and Sunday, of course, a couple of masses. But there's 2 Trader Joe's by our parish, and on the way home, and there's also a Bristol Farms, which is kind of high-end thing. So the one thing about Trader Joe's, there's a couple of things that we love. There's certain kind of cheeses that I like that only Trader Joe's has. But Trader Joe's, from a family perspective, you almost have to you have to eat it. You can't buy too much food because there's not a lot of preservatives. It's natural food thing, so it goes bad in 4 days.
Right.
So it's kind of a little catch
Yeah.
thing. But we're enjoying it. I want my cheeses or certain things for stopping on the
Yeah.
way back. So now I got 2 on the way home from church. Okay, so but
So
I would
you're
love
good.
one.
So
I'm
you're
good.
set.
Well, yeah, I would go. It came in Downey, but you're right. I think it's an entitlement.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think we deserve it. I think we can support it, and I would support us continuing to go after them. I'm not a hypocrite. It's just like the Tesla thing. I can't say that Tesla is we wanted you Tesla, and
Right.
now some other city wants you. I can't say you're a bad company.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we wanted Trader Joe's. We went after them. We didn't get them. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't go after them again.
Yeah, but at a certain point, don't we just have to preserve our dignity? I'm not going to go begging people for a Trader Joe's.
I'm okay with a little begging. Trader Joe's pretty pleased. Well, I'll tell you, the last time I met with them 3 times. The last time was with Gilbert Levis. We were at San Diego International Conference of Shopping Centers, and we met with them. I had an assigned time and the whole thing with their real estate people and Gilbert Levis and myself, and we were in the room, and then that's when they told us. I made that comment. It gets me in trouble, so I won't use exact words, but basically they're saying, the demographics aren't there, and you're not going to be for the next 5 years.
Right.
And we made our case. Look, we have this, and that. We can do this, and that. These are our profiles. This is our medium household income, our medium house income, blah, blah, blah. We've supported this, and that. Yeah, thanks.
And there really isn't a Trader Joe's in all of Southeast LA County.
No.
There's one in Cerritos,
Cerritos
but
is
there's
over.
none over in. There's none in Downey,
Yeah.
Peak Rivera, Bell Gardens. There's none over here.
So this is funny. My wife and I were in Cerritos. This is now 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, right? I was already off the council. And we're checking out, and we said something, and somebody said, "Oh, I wish we had closer to the person ahead of us. Wish we had closer to 1-2." And the cashier says, "Where do you live?" They said, "Oh, we live in Downey," right? So I'm just behind, and she goes, "I wish we had one." The cashier says to the customer ahead of us, doesn't know who I am or could care less. On there, on their Trader Joe's, on there, they have a bad taste on there. Some former mayor that said some things about him or whatever.
Are you serious?
I am not kidding you. And we looked at him, he laughed. And I told the young man, I'm the former mayor, and it wasn't me saying it, was Trader Joe saying it, that
funny.
our demographics wouldn't fit on there.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm sorry, sir. I go, no harm done. I just wanted you to know.
What a coincidence,
But and what a crazy story that's that story out there.
Yeah.
Well, it's all because
That's
of you.
what people believe.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because you reported what I said.
At the town hall. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Well, good show, Mario.
Yeah, a lot
it
of
was
stuff.
a busy week. Yeah.
I think next week we'll talk about the results of the results
recall.
of the recall, and maybe we'll tell you a little bit more about who Tim Horn is. Timothy Horn is.
Timothy Horn.
And we'll go from there, and we'll have a couple other reviews for you. Restaurant.
Only his friends call him Tim.
Only his friends.
We're not his friends. It's Timothy.
Did he say
for
that?
us. No.
Oh, okay. That's a good story right there. Yeah, no kidding. So, anyways, folks, so listen, stay with us. We appreciate it. Please listen to us. We just saw recently we were over 20,000 viewers, and we want to bring what our show, Talking Downey, we want to know about what you want us to report on. Are we on the right track talking about that? Eric doesn't want to talk about politics. We end up talking politics because Downey right now, a lot of things are political, but we want to branch out and talk about other great things that are happening in the city. And, we want to hear from you. A couple of people on our Instagram posted a couple of nasty things because they misread what we were saying. This isn't Republican or Democrat. It's got nothing to do with it. We're keeping talking Downey and talking about Downey stuff. So,
yeah.
And we want to thank Financial Partners Credit Union for sponsoring our show. They're so involved in their community. They want to make sure that we get the message and the word out. Financial Partners, a community partner for a credit union for over 85 years.
Don't join a bank, join a credit union. Thank you, Financial Partners. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and we're going to talk to you guys soon again.
Great. Thanks for listening. Talking Downey with Mario
and Eric.